Okay, I'm feeling really, really bad, and I guess I just want to talk about why. Um, I'm trying to analyze it myself, and I really, it's like I hate England, and I've always hated England ever since I found out I was God and realized that no one gives a shit. You can't walk into a church and say, "Hi, I'm God." They just wouldn't believe you, and the types of people in there are people who believe that they know the truth, that they've worshipped the book, they've chosen Jesus, and then you know that you're God, and you know that you're seeing things on a daily basis. You know that you're in some sort of computer. You know that you've been trying to tell people, and you've been trying to tell people and get help. And you know that people know because they're writing songs about you, and they're making songs that wouldn't make sense in their own life. Some of the songs link to me and some of them don't, and to just go through this for years and years and years and have everyone ignore you, whilst it's such a traumatic thing. And I don't know what's wrong with my brain, but I'm feeling like whatever. I would love to do a brain scan, to find out, like, obviously my brain is obviously going to experience high levels of trauma, whatever you would expect, from someone who's been at war, missing bombs and stuff like that. Whatever you're expecting, I'm sure that's what it's going to be. But I wouldn't be surprised if it's so much higher than that, because I've literally been having conversations with songs through time and space, and I can't tell anyone this because they wouldn't believe me. And therefore, because of that, I see the average British person as being like a robot, someone who doesn't care, doesn't understand, just is too busy believing, well, you believe that, and that's just your opinion, but other people believe other things, and I need to take it all counts. If you say you're God, well, you're just one of you. There's millions of people that say you're not God, so I'm going to listen to that person. That's pretty much the average person. So I hate the English people. I really, really do. But over the last few years, England has been taken over by Islamic people. Now, Islamic people feel so far, like, I'm not saying all of them, because I know that there are some, I don't know, because it's weird, because there are some people who seem nice, and yet you talk to them about their religion, and they go on about how beautiful it is, without realizing, but women are slaves in your culture. Your culture is not a culture. It's a disgusting mindset, and to see it as being beautiful is just you proving how screwed up in your head you are. Like the Judaism is a mad religion. To read the Torah and think that this is the laws of God, and to think that Moses was promised, given the promised land, and his children were destined to inherit this land, and yet the same God a couple of years later tried to ask him to go and kill his own son, his only son, and giving him a woman who can't give birth, or I think she was supposed to be older or something, and then him having a child with us. I mean, just the whole thing, everything about it is disgusting. And it's just like, the more I learn about religion, and the more I see people worshipping these religions, it just angers me, because I hate them all. And Islam is the worst. Islam is the worst. And then to think that there's a whole bunch of people in the government that are just allowing these people in. Oh, these people from Sudan are nice people. I was watching that video, and okay, it looks bad, but they look mindless. They look mindless. There's a whole bunch of people, like, I think it's because I live with my mum. My mum's house is a junk. It's literally just like a garage. There's boxes everywhere, and okay, she spent thousands of pounds doing the kitchen, but that took 20 years. That kitchen was basically full of maggots. It was disgusting. When I was there, when I was living there, it was really bad. It was really bad, and there was lots of piping in wrong places, so you couldn't just to change it. You'd have to get a proper. You'd have to take the stuff out. You'd have to recorrect the piping, and then you'd have to put in a new set. But because the piping was all in sort of mashes, she didn't do it for 20 years, and the kitchen was awful, and the sort of people that you're bringing in are people like my mum. They really are. And I think because I've lived with my mum all my life, she makes me feel suicidal, because she's got no sense of taste, and no sense of common sense even, and it's annoying how people could talk to her and just see absolutely no faults in her, like, oh yeah, she's just a normal person, and yet other people can talk to her and be like, yeah, there's obviously something wrong with this woman, she's crazy. But it's just there's such like a huge variety of people, and everyone's, if you start saying things or going against what they believe, they'll see you as the bad one, and just, I feel like I'm going through so much trauma, and then the belief that the government literally don't see anything wrong with taking millions of people from third world countries into this country. That there is a problem with people who are living their first life as a human. If you are living your first life as a human, you are an idiot because you don't understand human morals, human rules, human laws. And I know this because I know my mum. I know how stupid she is. And okay, she was born in England, and she's been brought up with the English culture, so she's had a much better chance of becoming civilized. And she kind of is civilized, but I don't know, like, my sister goes into restaurants, like, if there's a free, hot chocolate bar for this, say it's a hospital and there's patients that come in, or if it's a hotel and, it's obvious that the hot chocolate is for the guests. But she doesn't care. She'll just walk in there and have the free hot chocolate. I mean, she wouldn't just have one. She would have like 2 or 3. Go in there with a big glass, just top up as much as she wants, just sit there feeling nothing, and just like, you're just walking into a hotel and stealing hot chocolate. And she doesn't see a problem with that because she doesn't care. Like, if she can, she will. And I found out how she got the job from the nursery. She lost the first child to custody of the father. Personally, I think the father was being a dick. He should have been working with Sophie, not just getting restraining orders on her and my mum, and trying to do his best to cause problems in their life. And that's basically what he's done. So I don't know what's going on with him. I know he earned a lot of money now. If the only reason why he was earning a lot of money was because people knew that he was, I don't know, God's sister's husband, then maybe the reason why he got all that job was because of that. But because he was doing maths teaching, but he was making a huge amount of money from it, and I don't know, but I don't like him, but what he's doing, unless he's not doing it. I mean, maybe he's had this separation because he found out that I was God, and part of the contract was to ignore me, and maybe all this suing and stuff like that is actually just not him doing it, but because I don't think he's doing this. I mean, it's 5 years later, and what, my mum might be going to jail over saying, are you happy now, when after losing full custody of a child that she's spent 2 years trying to get some access to and got absolutely nothing, and what, the courts are now taking her, making her go in every single day. Every single time she comes to my house, she's always writing big long letters to a high crown court about what her actions are and what she's done over the last month. I mean, maybe this is all just a scam, like, because she doesn't believe that I'm God. She literally cannot believe that I'm God because she's such a moron that, she was talking to my sister about how, well, I've been writing to the courts and doing a very interesting thing, and I don't know, and then she was saying, well, Anna, what have you been doing? What have you been doing? You're on Facebook, Anna's just been on Facebook all day, like acting like I'm the idiot because I'm the one that's on Facebook. Even though what I was posting was actually trying to basically build up this military against this Islamic regime that's taking over the English country, whilst you've got morons like my mum who's just completely ignorant to everything. And I had a client yesterday, and I'm seeing, I don't mind seeing someone if I know they're not Islamic, not Asian, and yeah, if I don't think they cause problems. And he gave me a 2-hour massage, which was really nice, and I guess I'm stressing out a lot. But it's also stressing to know that he's watching my videos, and that he's he's following me, doesn't believe that I'm God, doesn't believe that anything this is right, this is true, what I'm believing, and thinks that actually there's nothing wrong with England, that England's just fine. You know, he's thinking that because he's got a nice house and he's paid off the mortgage, and I think he's got a second mortgage, he's got a second house that he's renting out, or maybe even two or three, I don't know, and he's paying off the mortgages for those properties, and you know he's not seeing any problems because he's not experiencing any problems. I'm the one who's experiencing problems because I'm the one that spent years unable to get a job, and then just confused as to why the housing market was going up about 50,000 each year, even though I was only making about nothing each year. I was making nothing each year, and yet the housing market was going up £50,000 each year. So it's just like, why is this happening? Why is no one helping me to get onto the housing market? And you know, if you have to pay £1,000 a month of rent each month, and yet you're only making £2,000 a month, or less even. I know in that third year I was paying 1,300 and I was making about 1,500 a month. So it's like, what? So I'm living off £200, but 1,200 £300 needs to go on, and that wasn't including bills. It was £200 plus I had to cover bills for that, so I was really only living about £100. What, I'm living off £100, and my rent is 1,300, and this is just going. Why are the people who own houses, why are they so privileged as to be able to just gain 10 times, 20 times more than everyone else simply for owning a property? I mean, what did they do to do that? I mean, the guy's nice, okay? The guy who I was renting from, he's a nice guy, and I don't want to insult him anyway, but that's the thing. You think, oh, these people are nice, I don't want to insult him in any way, and then you're just thinking, but I'm insulting the system. The system shouldn't allow this. You shouldn't have people living off £100 a month whilst they spend £1,300 a month on their rent. I mean, that's slavery. This is a slavery system. And then I'm hating and despising the government whilst the government is saying, oh yeah, we have to look after the people from Sudan, and then what? They're coming over in boats, and you're just thinking yes. And I'm thinking about my sister getting her nursery job. You know, she got a nursery job based on a form that she needed to fill out, and she said that when they gave her the form, they said, well, I'm sure you'll do well, we just need to ask you to do that, you've got the job and everything's fine, and now we just need to ask you to fill out this form. You know, she can't say, oh, what, yeah, I have actually had a child taken away from me, and oh, I have actually been in a mental hospital, and oh yeah, I have been deemed unsafe by social services, and oh yeah, she was basically ticked a whole bunch. There was a whole bunch of questions, and she said that everything was basically yes, and she knew that if she ticked yes, she wouldn't get the job, so she just ticked no, and she got the job. And I'm just thinking, well, if this is how stupid, you know, this is what communism does. Communism gets people at the top to think, right, we'll just get them to fill out these forms. You know, they're all like us. They're not going to lie. They're not going to tell any truth. If you ask them, have you come from Sudan? Yes. Well, have you slaughtered anyone? Have you burnt anyone's houses? Have you done this? No. Really, it could all be yes. And there seems to be a whole bunch of morons in England that just assume that people don't lie. And it's really, really frustrating me, because I don't know if this is the truth or not, or if this is just some sort of I'm putting my hope in the fact that they know that these people cannot stay here, and that you need to just do what they did in the Second World War, just round up all these people and just kill them. Like that's what needs to happen. And it's really stressing me, because I'm not certain that is happening. If I was certain that was happening, then I'd be fine. But with everything I'm seeing, it's like they could have a media team of people that are literally just pumping out lots of wrong information, not true stories. Oh yeah, this person got stabbed, this person got killed, this person got raped, this person's been let off. You know, if they're just pumping out a bunch of false stories, in hopes of building up some sort of hatred towards these migrants, so that they can form an army against these migrants, and it is an invasion. It is an invasion, and If the part of the media process is actually just to spread out loads of lies, so that if the public find out that people are just being mass murdered, they're not going to care, because they'll look at all these things and think, well, I don't want this to happen, I don't want this to happen, I don't want this to happen. I think if that's what these videos are all about, getting people to like the idea, or approve of the idea of mass slaughtering of the invaders, then maybe that's what all these false stories are. And of course they're not getting people who know that they're false to report on them. They're getting people who don't know that they're false to report on them. So that's why they're so convincing. These people who believe that a lot of terrible things are happening in England, they generally believe that this is all happening. And I think it's having a very mental traumatic, it's probably having a mental, they're probably facing mental trauma on their own brain. But I'm facing it too. I'm feeling it too, because I'm, I don't know what to believe. I don't know what to believe, but I want England, it's awful. It's like, I want England to go back to how it was 10 years ago, even though England wasn't full of nice people back then, because I knew that I was Christ and no one gave a shit. And therefore I'm just like, it's like England has fallen so much that I wanted to go back to how it was before. But I know how it was before wasn't actually in my favour either, because none of them were able to believe that I was Christ. None of them were able to believe. I just want people to help me. I want people to stop ignoring me. And I know it plagues my mind how Madonna has, adopted a couple of third world people. And I guess I'd love to know what her real experience of having these adopted kids are. I know she says that she loves her kids and that, everything's, they're all different and stuff. And in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, what would she think of this sort of growing anger that I have towards people who are like her kids coming into my country? If there's a small handful of them, you can handle them. It's not a culture problem, I don't think. I think the problem is it's a first human type thing. If you're living your first life as a human, you have this view. Now, her kids, one of them or two of them might be living their first life, some of them might be living their second or third life, and they would be different. But Madonna hasn't helped me. None of her songs have helped me. During those first years while I was trapped in a studio flat, unable to get out of bed, realising that we're living in some sort of matrix, realising that everything was linking to me, but the robots around me weren't able to believe this, and so I was just trapped, poor, broke, not giving any advice by anyone, not helped by anyone, not supported, not believed. I want a brain scan to find out how much trauma my brain has gone through, because I'm wondering if this is the reason why I'm getting so many headaches and why I can't get out of bed. And I can't even go to the hospital and ask for this, because they would probably just be like, well, you're not God. It's just schizophrenia, that's all it is. They'll play it down and make out that schizophrenia is some sort of imagination that you're going through, rather than an actual voice in your head that's literally talking to you and able to have some sort of conversation. And it's just like, there's a voice in my head that's literally knows every single thing that I'm doing, and yet it's allowing me to go through this. Why? Why is it allowing me to go through this? Why is it allowing me to just lie on a bed whilst thousands of people ignore me, whilst knowing that I'm going through this, and yet don't seem to care? And then you've got fucked up people in the government who are just like, oh, bring more people in. I mean, if they're bringing more people in because they're just shooting them, then fine, I've good. But I don't know, I'm not convinced that is actually happening, because I don't know, but I'm experiencing heavy loads of trauma, and I can't seek anyone for help. And you would think that having a massage for 2 hours yesterday would have helped. Someone massaged me and paid me to massage me, yes. And you would have thought that would have helped, and it would. But the guy who did it doesn't believe that I'm God, and he thinks that there's no problems here, and he thinks that I'm just watching too many things online, and it's none of it's true, and so in his mind he's right and I'm wrong. And that, now this is the type of people that I have to deal with constantly. I know I'm God. I know that I'm talking through time. I know that people are watching me and yet just seeing no truth in what I'm saying. I know that there are ignorant people who literally don't see anything wrong with England, that it's just the same as it ever was. And it's just frustrating because it's getting worse. It's getting harder and harder to walk across town because you're seeing people that literally could be having a knife on you, and you can't talk to them. You know, you can't even say how are you, because on the coach journey I had, there was someone who, I don't know, he had a bag, and I was just like, is that full of knives or something, like, and it was basically empty. When he opened it, there was some point where he opened it to get some speakers out, and it was just like nothing in there. And it's just like, yeah, well, you're going from Gatwick all the way to Birmingham, you've got one bag and it's empty. Like, why have you got an empty bag that just has like some speakers in? Like, who travels around with just some speakers? Wear your fucking clothes, you know, like who is coming into the country, and why are they traveling around with no clothes? I don't know. I'm questioning loads of things, and it's causing huge amounts of trauma on my brain, and I'm wanting my brain to be messed up, because if um I don't know, I feel like I'm getting to the point where if you were to come to me and take me to a nice house, I ain't going to be able to do anything. I'm not going to be able to do anything. I'm not going to trust you. I'm not going to like you. I'm not going to understand why you've done this to me. I'm not going to understand why I've just been ignored for this long. I don't understand why you've just destroyed my country. I'm angry at the people who have destroyed my country. Now, if that means being angry at Kuwait or the Qatar or whatever it is, Qatar, that all the Islamic people who've, I mean, maybe I think the reason why could be that we've bought up lots of oil in these countries, so the people in these countries have basically just become incredibly rich off all the Westerners' oil money, and the Westerners now want to try and get our oil money back, and so we're welcoming them into our country, providing they give 40,000 of their money to the banks, and then take out a £400,000 house mortgage to pay for this house, when in reality the house was probably not worth anything more than 40,000 anyway. But when the housing market crashes, the banks are just going to get all their money back. And so maybe this is just a way of the bankers trying to get back their oil money. You took all our oil money by claiming that this oil is yours because you happen to be born on the same land that this oil was on, and now we're going to punish you by welcoming you into a nice country that's not going to be a nice country. Why? Because it's going to be full of your people. I don't know, but there's definitely a divide. You've got the smart people that can see what are going on, and are now probably just mentally ill because of all the trauma that they've had to endure. And then you've got the dumb idiots that are just mentally ill and think, you know, oh, Sharia law is the answer. Just make everyone under Sharia law, which basically is just, Sharia law is just basically man's sick laws. Man can do whatever they want, so that you don't have to fear the people. You know, if you steal from someone, the law's going to come in and kill you, so you're not going to want to steal. So yeah, okay, understand that Sharia law prevents crime. You know, you're not going to want to rape, or you're not going to want to steal, or you're not going to want to do crimes if the law is just going to come in and chop your head off. You know, so on one hand it controls. The thing is, if part of their law is saying that, you know, if you say Muhammad is the false prophet, you know, if you end up can be killed by something like that, you know, if you're still believing, oh yeah, he's the real prophet, you know, you'll be fine. But if you start getting smarter and start realizing actually he is the false prophet, and then, oh, what, now I have to have my head cut off, you know, you're not safer. You're safer from the public, but you're not safer from the government that's going to chop your head off. But at the same time, I understand that the public is quite dangerous, so you need a strict government to chop people's heads off, because that's the only way to control them. You know, would all these migrants be crossing the borders if they knew that they were going to have their heads chopped off when here? I mean, if England is being taken over by Islamic people, then maybe they will support the idea of chopping the heads off anyone who's in this country illegally. And I feel like I'm just going through so much trauma because I don't know what's going on. I'm just annoyed how I know so much, how I'm literally talking to something through time and space, and it's linking singers and songs, and choosing their birth dates as well. I need I need to add the birth dates of all the new singers that I've added in the last few months, probably another 20, 30 or something. So not only has all these people been helped, they've also been born on specific days that say certain things according to who else was born on the same day as them. I mean, that's how complicated it is. And yet this thing that has done all this and helped make millions of songs, give people nice lives, nice homes. I mean, I don't even know if they have been living nice lives and nice homes, but the same thing that has done all that has designed it so that I get fucking mentally ill over it. Why the fuck has that happened?